So we're at the Alan and Heath stand at the BPM show, and of course they've released the new DB2 Firmware version 2. This is Greg from Alan and Heath. Can you take us through the new features?
Yeah, okay. We've got a new option here on the menu that says Effects Cascade. What this allows you to do once it's enabled is to actually basically, in effect, have a delay, for example, into a reverb. So before, on the DB2, you had your two effects engines that were assignable, but in effect they're like almost independent. Whereas now we can actually say, okay, let's introduce a delay, and then I want it to go into a lush reverb, just to be a bit more intricate with your sound and kind of create something that just flows a bit differently with your music. So that's been added, which is quite a big update for the DB2, really.
Definitely,
you know,
definitely.
Moving away from those two.
It gives you so much scope to do so much more with it.
And again, once you configure your effects and you find those sweet points, again, you're just creating different edges to elements.
Definitely.
To your
so
sound.
that's the main feature.
Yeah, okay. Additionally, we've added other options. For example, we've got spatial crossover, so you can actually
mono your bass, can't you, in the sub-region?
Yeah. So again, if you're in a very, like we are today at this show, a very noisy and quite bad acoustic environment, you can actually, in effect, have some mastering tools at your hands to try and control that. So obviously on here we can change the frequency, the HF width, the LF width, the slope. So that's been added. That's really interesting. We've also added a MIDI setup option, as seen on the DB4. So as well as being able to receive MIDI clock, we can send it. So here, I can actually now set my BPM, so I can mid-set actually bring up the vibe and the tempo, whether it's off or on, and obviously the MIDI channel number, which is going to be a lot of use for a lot of users.
So go on then.
We've also added down here, if you go to damage. We've actually added
the
Infrabass is on the DB2 as well. So again, that kind of being able to utilise that sub-bass spectrum. And again, it's very powerful, and you know, certain tracks and certain elements it'll work very well with, and can make something that's it would almost sound non-existent without it, or it might sound too much. So again, it's one of those effects that you've got to live to learn kind of where it's going to suit and where it's running the track it could work.
Yeah, definitely. You've got to use your head.
Yeah, exactly. But Infrabass has been added as well. It's a great unit, as we know, and it's picking up from as the DB4 kind of legacy. So I think it's an exciting update, and yeah, probably time to check the DB2 out if you haven't.
Yeah, definitely. So that's version 2 of the DB2 firmware update. Go out and get it.